me stop here, is, to me, it was meant, not to me, but scientifically, it was meant to be a stabilizer, not to be something long-term. But we've elongated it, and now it's a lifestyle, and people just want to pop the magic pill. And again, it's like headache medication. If you pop it, then you're not dealing with the trauma. You're just appeasing the pain, and it's still there. But again, for exercise, the reason why it's so important, because you are moving, kind of like EDMR, and you are regulating hormones, and you are regulating your serotonin levels, which has to do with your mood. So you can walk out that anxiety and walk out those emotions. And it's just something that's so powerful about walking and talking, or just walking and noticing the breeze and being mindful. It just helps you to regulate what's going on in your body. And remember, the anxiety is what's going on in your body, and depression. So you always want to treat that before you start talking, medications, any of that, actually, but you get to choose. But the study said it works better. And I'm not giving medical advice. This is education. And then with the medication, if you're not a medication person, another form of treatment is vitamins, and just being able to, the sunlight. The vitamin D regulates the serotonin. And so that is what determines your mood. And so you need vitamins, and you need, make sure you're not nutrition deficient, because that also could further your sexual trauma symptoms and your depression and your anxiety, and keep you in that loop, that negative loop. So you want to be able to know that that is a form that needs to go in your treatment. You need to go into the treatment of sleep. Again, nightmares are good, because it is your brain's way of working through the trauma. It waits till you go to sleep, and it says, I'm going to work through this with or without this person. We're going to organize this. It's like if your house is dirty and there's a magic maid that comes and cleans it up. That's what your brain's doing. It says, she's asleep, let's organize this, let's deal with it. And the beauty of that is that it is a form of processing. So you want to wake up and journal it, because you lived through it. That's why people wake up, their heart's beating fast, because the brain, you don't know the difference, but sometimes when you're dreaming. So you get credit for experiencing that. And so try to go through it. Try to become fluid in your dream, so that you know you're dreaming, and take advantage of that, because you get credit for that you went through that. And then what happens, we're going to have to treat the communication, because when you are sexually abused, or you feel shame from secret sins of unauthorized sex, you shut down. You live a life where you're just communicating in your head, and you don't disclose yourself, your innermost parts. And so you have to learn how to advocate for yourself, speak up for yourself, and get your voice back. Trauma takes your voice, and speaking is a pronouncement of your personhood, that you're here, you have thoughts, you have feelings, and you have a voice. So the goal is to get your voice back. That's empowerment. You get to say how you feel. You get to say your story. You get to represent you through language. That is so important. There's been selective mutism where people are abused. They don't talk. They feel like, if I talk, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm too ashamed to talk. I don't know what's going to fly out of my mouth, so I don't assert myself. I'm passive. I won't speak up for myself. Speak up for yourself, and you can walk with somebody who can teach you how to be assertive, because the goal is not to be aggressive. And now I'm just going to tell everybody how I feel, because that's mastering the trauma. When you see people like that, there could be mastering the trauma of abuse. And now they got to say everything. And they're going to tell everybody how they feel. They're aggressive. They're bullies themselves. So the goal is not to be passive or aggressive, but to be assertive, which is win-win. I tell you how I feel respectfully. I respect my body and my life, and I respect yours, right? And the second part of the treatment, and is going to be moving out of communication, is boundaries. Boundaries, setting healthy boundaries, because setting healthy boundaries has to do with self-care. You want to be able to say, I'm an important property. My body belongs to me. My life belongs to me. And I get to decide who I want to share it with. Yes, it was taken, or yes, I had unauthorized sex and I just gave it to everyone. But at this part of my life, if I have a piece of gum, I'm going to decide who gets it. I'm just not going to let people roam through my purse. I'm not going to let people roam through my car. I'm not going to let people roam through my house and just take advantage of me or hug me or touch me or eat my food or drink my water. No, those are all signs that you don't have boundaries and you could be reacting from being exploited and taken advantage of as a child. So now you get in relationships where you don't say where you want to eat. You don't say what you need because it's never been about you. But boundaries are self-care and it makes it about you. It teaches that you are valuable, and anything that is valuable is worth covering and protecting. And so you learn to revalue yourself through treatment and through therapy. You learn how to trust people and how to move at your rate and not to give people trust because of just you're supposed to. You get to allow people to build trust, real credit with you. Instead of just giving people credit and trust, you get to let people show you that they're trustworthy. That's a sign of treatment where you get to move slowly in relationships and not feel like you have to tell everybody your business and all your traumas and trauma dump, because that's your way of trying to trauma bond and get people to know I'm an open book and, just join me, and you feel like you're close to people if they know everything about you. It just means you're boundaryless and you don't know the difference between secrets and privacy. Privacy is a boundary aspect where you don't have to share all of your information because it's yours. You get to decide who gets it. But when you don't have boundaries, you think everybody has privilege to everything that happens in your life. And so that is a red flag. So you'll learn that in treatment, how to not overshare, over-explain, over everything. Let people show you with a little information that they can be trusted. You give a little, they give a little. Not because they're telling you to give it, you give it because you want to share, right? So it teaches you how to share. And then you deal with you go to a sex therapist. We talked about this to deal with the root cause of your hyposexual behavior or hyper. A sex therapist, a Christian one, if you please, a saved one, if you please, so that you understand you just begin to really work on learning God's original idea for sex. And it's worth having another topic. I think I'll add being treatment for pornography. I have one on my Hope Wednesday in the catalog, but I'll probably go back in that when I talk about identity disorders. I'll lump that with pornography treatment. And so what you're doing, the whole process is understanding that the brain is, you'll delve into neuroplasticity. And the Bible talks about neuroplasticity first, which means that the brain can change. And they used to believe that the brain couldn't change, but it can. And so the Bible tells us it can because it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And how are you it's like saying, be rewired by the word of God and by godly principles and behavior. So when you stop doing those survival behaviors, you have to learn, you have to be introduced to new behaviors through treatment. And then as you practice those, you begin to rewire your brain. And so it's going to take introducing yourself to the new. And some people are really afraid of walking in the newness of life or new things because new requires faith and old only is just comfort. And it doesn't require anything. It's a fleshly aspect of just being comfortable. Well, new requires faith because you haven't been there before. And that requires confidence in God and doing something that is a little different, a lot different. So that's going to be the neural therapy of it, where you're going to be rewiring and wiring your brain to positive things. Lastly, it's going to be important that you understand that this is a grief walk. And remember, I talked about forgiveness, but before the forgiveness, part of it, yes, you can have the attachment and be building your attachment with God, self, and others, but right in between that and forgiveness is going to be grief, because how can you forgive somebody of something that you can't even verbalize the impact of it? So grief is almost the process of building your impact statement. And even in court, before people are sentenced, the victims get to share their impact story. But if you don't know, if you won't look at the impact, if you won't become aware, and if you won't face the ugliness of it, then you'll never be able to use your voice, get your voice back, and devise your impact statement and grieve it and be reintroduced to your new life. So at the end of it is your new life that you want, but there are stages you have to walk through. In grief, when you're avoiding and you're dissociating, that's denial. And that's the brain's way of protecting you from what it thinks is too much. You were a child, it was too much. You didn't know what to do with it. So it split and it was just too much. Your brain just fragmentation, it was too much. But as an adult, you have to deal with the reality of it. So you have to deal with the denial and the dissociation by saying, this is real, this happened, and this makes me feel this way. And after you deal with the denial piece, then you have to deal with the emotional piece, which is you'll probably be angry, you'll probably be sad, you'll probably be sad that your innocence was lost. You'll be sad that people let you down. You'll be sad that, people didn't protect you. You'll be angry that you have to deal with these emotions and these perversions, and that you're fighting a demonic warfare now in your body because what was deposited in you. So then there's anger. You have to find out that, yes, you have a right. The goal is not to exterminate anger or sadness, but to let it speak and then give it a solution, but not to wipe away the emotions, because it may be 20 years down the road. And if you thought about it, it makes you angry, because it should make you angry because it was wrong. It should make you sad because you lost something, but you should be able to be sad and function, be angry and act appropriately. But when you're unhealed, you're only trapped in the emotion and you're not functioning. So we want to move past just feeling the emotion, but carrying the emotion, but not being led and managed by the emotion, right? So if you're not managing your emotions are managing you. The final stage would be acceptance. This is when you come to it, and this is, the bottom line, where you're just like, what can I do? I cannot go back and be born again, like in that way. Like Nicodemus said, I can't enter back into my mother's womb, come out and erase everything and have a new life. I can't do that. This is my life. And even before that, when you start to realize that, that's why you grieve. And that's why you cry, because you realize that your life was not the life you would have chosen or you would have wanted. And most of us, because we're born in sin, in every aspect, we don't get the life we want. We are, again, the victims of one another's development. We're born in sin, so we will have tribulation. And the weight of that is just a reminder of the weight of the fall. The weight of the pain equates the weight of the fall. It shows us how heinous Adam and Eve's sin was. Adam particularly, because all sinned after Adam. So we're supposed to be horribly impacted by sin. You're supposed to be horribly impacted by molestation, abuse, and unauthorized sex, because it attests to the fact that sin is wrong. So when you're able to look at it and then you begin to accept, this is my life. There's nothing I can do with it, but there's something I can do with it moving forward. I can't change the past, but I get to change the future. I can give the past to the Lord, and I can re-edit it and add pieces to it so that I can manage it and live with it. And then I can change my life and make my life worth living. I don't have to be stuck in my past where the pain is managing me, but I get to manage the pain. And that is part of the healing structure that people don't get to. And people resist forgiveness because they're stuck in their past and their pain. But when you can still see that you're going to be okay and that you still have life, it is easier for you to give people to God. And I have a witness. Joseph, although they put him in the pit, he was in prison, he went through what he went through, he was able to forgive his brothers. One of the reasons why he had a good attitude, he was still hurt and cried, but he said, you guys meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. I still became who God told me I was going to be. It would have might been different if he would have not became that. So as you heal and become who God wants you to do, that's part of your healing portion. That's how you satisfy that, by refusing to be incarcerated by your trauma, by getting out of your trauma. They put you there, but you get to decide to stay or to leave. And when you stay and blame other people, then it just makes you more spiteful and angry. And then you start to blame yourself when you have the capacity to join with God and with someone to open the door to your new life. Is it easy? No. Is it possible? Yes. Is it worth it? Absolutely 100%, because the event happened, but the residual impact lasts many years beyond the 1, 2, 3, or how many ever years that it happened. You can live out the rest of your life just carrying it into different years, different situations. You're carrying it, and you have to decide, it's something I don't want to carry anymore. I'm giving it to God, and I'm getting some tools to be healed. I have spent a little over our time talking about this, and I hope to get into more treatment when we talk about pornography addiction and sexual identity problems and treatment. So we are not done. We are just beginning the conversation. And I hope that you continue the conversation. My objective is that I said enough to make you curious and begin to be desensitized some, so that you can reach out. And the next time somebody talks about it, you can breathe through it and hear a little more and hear a little more and hear a little more until you are able to look at it so that you can reshape it, so that you can learn the skills to heal, to feel first, then to heal, then to forgive, then to take your life back. May God bless you. I love you, but God loves you most.